Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, March 8th, 2018. I'm Keith Tebow. On tap tonight, reaction to the aftermath of Tuesday's special referendum on the funding of a new BMC Durfee High School. A recap of damage caused by recent stormy weather here in Fall River, and a look ahead to this weekend's Home and Garden Show at Diamond Regional Voc Tech. But first, let's check in with the news headlines of the week. We bring in Will Richmond, digital news editor at the Herald News. Will, welcome.
Hi, Keith. Good to see you again.
Yes, let's get right to it. Finally over, the referendum on the new BMC Durfee High School this past Tuesday. It passed by a 61 to 39% vote, with 61% voting yes, 39% voting no. The spread was 4,941 to 3,136. Again, those unofficial numbers from Tuesday night. And I guess, Will, my first question to you would be that it appeared that even though we heard a lot on both sides of the issue, those in favor and those against, that there appeared to be enough groundswell that the people were in favor of this proposal overall.
Yeah, with such a low voter turnout, you have to wonder if part of this was about the ability to get voters out. Obviously, the Yes Group, which was very well funded, well organized, had a number of high-profile type of personalities from elected officials, former elected officials involved, really seemed to be able to better organize and get people to the polls on Tuesday to vote yes. You know, like you said, we heard a lot on both sides. There was a lot of social media discussion on the no side, it seemed. But ultimately, you know, if you go back to November, there was a lot of that similar discussion related to the sewer bond and the charter that was against it, and all the margins of all three questions were roughly the same. So, you know, I think in this case there was just a much better effort to get people to the polls to vote yes.
You mentioned the poor voter turnout, about 16.6% of the eligible voters. Only about a little over 8,000 voters came out on Tuesday, and this has been, you know, a trend not just in Fall River but across the country, where voters seem to be very apathetic toward getting out and voting, and whether they feel their voices are worth being heard, I don't know. But it seemed like an issue like this, the building of a high school where literally thousands of people in Fall River could be impacted by a Durfee High School. Parents who either had children go through the high school or are currently in elementary school who would benefit from a new Durfee High School. It just seems like the apathy has really been an issue, and it was borne out by this vote on Tuesday. I guess your reaction about, you know, voter turnout.
Yeah, well, you mentioned, you know, the effect on parents, future students, but this vote literally will have an effect on every property owner on the city,
right?
Particularly renters. You know, this will result in tax increases. It will result in, pretty assuredly, the city's going to continue to raise taxes 2.5% going forward as well. So, you know, this is going to hit people's pockets whether you have a tie to the school system or not. It still wasn't enough to get people to come out and vote. You know, I talked to one of the poll wardens that works at the government center polls about 15 minutes before polls were going to close. She lamented how slow it was, and that literally you could have come in, it was one question, you could have had your ballot cast, made your vote, cast your ballot in no more than 2 minutes and been out the door.
Yeah.
You know, the time commitment wasn't much. It wasn't a poor weather day for the most part.
Nope.
You know, there's not a lot of great excuses. People should have been aware of it. I mean, it's not the traditional election where you have signs on every street corner and front yard, but there's certainly a lot of buzz about this election, about what it would mean for the city, what it would mean for Durfee, what it would mean for taxpayers, and still yet, you know, that it just wasn't enough to get people to come out to the polls in large numbers.
There was some talk, and there was an article in today's paper, I believe. There was some talk by those opposed to the ballot question passing that there may be a question concerning the new city charter and whether there's a provision in the new city charter that says that 20% of the eligible voters need to take part in a referendum, if you will. There's been talk that that may be an issue coming forward on whether this vote will be challenged, as only 16% of the voters came out. But you spoke to Corporation Counsel Joe Macy, as well as the Election Commission Chairwoman Elizabeth Camara, and they seem to think that that portion of the charter, that 20% rule, does not pertain to this election.
Yeah, they seem pretty sure it does not. We also spoke with a number of the former charter commissioners to see what their intent was. Many of them mentioned that they did not believe that this was the case, that it would fall into that provision. Reading the charter, well, with this new charter, anything is up for a potential challenge, it would seem like. I would say that, it looks like that this is tied to if the initiative is citizen-driven. In this case, it was not. It was city-driven, placed on the ballot by the city council, not by a petition effort or anything to that effect. So at this point, we haven't heard that there will be a formal challenge, that this will go to court in any way. But, the number of people who sort of put this rule in place are in a position to sort of interpret it at this point, say they do not believe it will have any effect on the outcome.
All right, now that the voters had their say, what's the next steps in terms of getting the state funding and getting this process and getting the project actually, moving ahead?
So the next step is that the outcome, the votes get certified just like any regular election would. Once that process is done, it will be sent to the city council and they'll have to approve the order that will sort of set the next function in motion here. The process renews with the Massachusetts School Building Authority in terms of finalizing the design plans and all of the that sort of pre-work that will go into it. The school department will begin their work to look at moving utilities around in the current Durfee so that they're not impacted when construction begins. And then shovels could be in the ground later this year with an eye towards getting this school built and completed in the next couple of years.
Definitely very exciting times for education here in Fall River in terms of a new BMC Durfee High School. And we'll, again, continue to follow it as we go along. An issue we've been following for quite some time, it seems like past couple of years, has been the strife between Mayor Jazio Correa and the Fall River Office of Economic Development. We all know that last year FROED was kicked out of its headquarters at Government Center. They are now located at the Cherry and Webb building in downtown Fall River. But the city is suing FROED for back rent of over $100,000. And in the discovery phase, those attorneys representing FROED are asking for emails from government officials, the mayor, city administrator, and others involved in terms of some comments that may have been had in emails concerning this FROED issue. A judge has ruled that yes, the city must turn over those emails. And this week it was announced that the city council is looking to see those emails as well. And according to City Council President Cliff Ponte, it looks like that the city will be cooperating with sharing those emails with city councilors.
Yeah, at this point, the council has expressed their interest in obtaining those emails as well to ensure that to know what any potential fiscal impact on the city could be. The discussions between Council President Ponte and Corporation Counsel Joe Macy are ongoing. I think there's actually supposed to be some today as well that we're looking to follow up on. So, as the judge has determined that he won't place a protective order on those communications, it seems there's a lot of interest amongst city officials and the media in terms of seeing what the content of those communications would be.
And I believe the next court date for a hearing on this lawsuit is coming up this month sometime?
Yeah, I believe it's mid-March, somewhere in that time frame. This process is far from the actual determination on the rent issue as we deal with the sort of nitty-gritty in the court. So there's still a lot to be determined just on that end of it.
All right, Will, what's coming up over the next few days?
Sure. This coming weekend, we take a look at school safety in the area. Obviously, this is a big issue following the shooting back in February down in Parkland, Florida. So actually, today we'll be hosting a panel discussion with high school students from across the region and their look at their concerns about school safety, as well as we've been talking with superintendents, law enforcement, and parents about the issue as well. And you'll be able to catch up on all of that online and in the paper coming up this weekend.
All right, sounds great. We'll talk next week. Take care.
All right. Have a good weekend, Keith.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Fall River Career Center. Digital Strategist. The Fall River Herald News, located at 207 Pecasset Street, is looking for a full-time digital strategist responsible to increase digital advertising revenues by collaboratively engaging with account executives on field calls, client visits, and overall revenue-driving activities. Job number 10312027. Certified Nursing Assistant. Genesis Healthcare and Rehab Services is in need of a full-time certified nursing assistant to care for patients at the Sarah Brayton Nursing Center. Job number 10302995. Campus Police Officer. The state of Massachusetts is looking for a temporary campus police officer to patrol the buildings and grounds at a mental health facility to detect and prevent criminal activity. Job number 10303357. The Fall River Housing Authority, located at 85 Morgan Street, is looking to fulfill the following full-time positions. Superintendent of Maintenance and Grounds, job number 10311368. Director of Facilities Management, job number 10309724. The Fall River Public School Department, located at 417 Rock Street, is also looking to fulfill the following full-time positions. STEM teacher, job number 10309672. After school teacher, job number 10312157. For more information on these or other positions, visit jobquest.detma.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. Some were pleased and others disappointed with the results of the special election this week, where voters decided to override Proposition 2.5 to help pay for a new Durfee High School. Although the city's share is $98.5 million and will result in tax hikes, parent and Durfee Rising proponent Kristen Gauvin is excited about the decision despite the low voter turnout.
It seemed that there was a lot of interest in the issue, that a lot of people were talking about it, but in the end, people just don't come out and vote. And that was our big message, going to that 18 to 35 group, talking at all the schools, because they're the ones that are going to be mostly affected by it. So that was really our target, and we tried to get them to come out and vote. We were aware that it would be a low turnout. It was one question. It was in March. So we were aware that it would be a low turnout.
What can your group do to continue to foster the discussion, to maybe allay some of the fears of the people who voted no, that this was actually a good thing for the city?
Well, I think now we all need to work together. This needs to be a group effort and help move the city forward. And I think one major thing was trying to get that information out there to people who weren't aware of things. And we heard people saying things that were just absolutely not true. And to get that message out there and make sure that everyone is informed of the process every step of the way.
As a parent, how important was it for you for this to pass?
Extremely important. I went to Durfee. My brothers and sisters went to Durfee. My mother went there. I said many times, I bleed red and black, and it was really important for me to have my kids go to school here, and they're very involved in the process. So for me to think that I would have to look for an alternative if the school wasn't accredited was heartbreaking.
While residents who were opposed to the ballot question agreed a new high school is needed, they were concerned about the cost to taxpayers. Spokesman for People for a Better Way, Robert Camara, says despite the yes vote, the issue is not dead in the water.
It's not over. It's only the beginning. This is an issue about overriding taxes when there may not be a necessity to do. And so we're going to continue on and look for every option we can.
So what may be the next steps for the People for a Better Way?
Well, we're going to look at obviously we're going to look at the charter because it's kind of a little ambiguous. I think we're going to have that looked at, and we're going to look at other options such as community involvement in elections. We've got CAG, Citizens Alliance for Accountability of Government, will be doing a lot of this, which is an organization that we put together a long time ago. We're going to have to advocate for more fiscal responsibility. We're spending tons and tons of money, but with jobs and stipends, and while on the other hand we're trying to impose tax increases. That's one issue. And also in the upcoming election, we're going to have to try to get people elected who are fiscally responsible with our money.
2 storms in the last week caused havoc in the greater Fall River area. Director of Emergency Services Richard Aguiar says last Friday's weather was more destructive than the storm that took place this past week.
We had a lot of damage, a lot of trees fallen. We had power outages, different areas of the city. We probably had around 4,000 without power, but not all at once. National Grid, I worked with National Grid. They came into the city. Fran Boucher from National Grid, who works closely with me. So we try to restore power fast, but unfortunately, a lot of big trees came down and took power lines and poles down, and we had to get the trees removed before we get the power lines up. So it was a lot of stuff going on all at once. Of course, we always get flooding in Fall River. We had one particular family at Norman Street who a tree fell through their home, so we had to put them up for the evening in a hotel. But just the normal stuff during a storm. And once again, we were not prepared, and we always say, get prepared. You always prepare yourselves.
Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker is seeking a way for drug users, but not sellers, to get help rather than jail time. Baker is proposing that those offenders be forced into drug and alcohol treatment. Here in Fall River, Stanley Street Treatment and Resource Center CEO Nancy Paul reacts.
Well, I think, of course, that is a wonderful proposal that the governor has made. Nobody ever recovers in jail, and we know that this is a chronic relapsing disorder and people need to be in treatment.
But do you think the treatment works under those circumstances?
Yes, we know treatment works. Again, it's a chronic relapsing disorder, so people do well and then they fall off the wagon. And if you think about it, just like a diet, people do well for a while, they fall off the wagon, but hopefully they pick themselves up and go on. We have new treatments, new medications that will help people, and we're excited about what's in the pipeline for better treatment. So, yes, treatment works.
Now, what would you say to those people who are opposed to the governor's plan?
I don't know anybody who would be opposed to the governor's plan. It saves money. If you put people in jail, it's over $40,000 per year. Treatment episode is in the cost of around $3,000. So I don't know why any taxpayer would want this. And again, there's no treatment, so they'll come out and do it again. So $40,000 versus a $3,000 treatment episode, it just makes sense.
We'll have more on FRC Media News right after this.
Hello and welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. We got a bunny for you. His name is Buddy. He's under a year old. He was an owner surrender. He's quite a pleasant rabbit. He is unneutered and a male. Very gentle, very relaxed, very sweet. This is a little bit crazy for him in this building, but I believe that he's going to be just a fine pet for someone. He's got interesting colors, almost like what you'd find out in your backyard, but he is most likely a Rex or mini Rex, or maybe a mix of both, and maybe with Harlequin, subtle Harlequin coloring. But he is quite pleasant. If you want to come see him, you can come see him at Forever Paws. We're located at 300 Linwood Street in Fall River.
Today we have Violetta. Violetta is a 10-year-old Portuguese Podango. Just about the sweetest dog that you'll ever meet. She's good with other dogs, cats, kids, any small creature she pretty much has made friends with. She's very ginger. Though she is sweet, there is one caveat. She does have diabetes, so she would need regular insulin shots. She does very good in the home. Not a lot of anxiety or anything like that. She pretty much just does what she's doing right now and kind of sidles up and gives you some love. So if you want to come meet Violetta, come on down to Forever Paws. We're at 300 Linwood Street here in Fall River, Massachusetts.
Welcome back. Diamond Regional Vocational Technical High School in Fall River will be the venue of a home and garden show this Saturday. The event is sponsored by the Bristol County Chamber of Commerce and is free and open to the public.
We've been doing this for quite some time. We have about 40 booths. They range from plumbers to electricians to nurseries. We have the fire department and the police department here this year, and they're going to be talking about safety and fire safety. They'll be giving out information in regards to that to the residents of this area, which I think is great, for anybody. We do seminars as well during the course of the day, and one of my favorite seminars is always the lunch seminar. We have Chris Gagnon is going to be coming in. He's a health and fitness expert. He has been given advice about how to cook, how to exercise. He's brought hundreds of people to their ideal weight. So he'll be doing a cooking demonstration showing people that it's very easy to do a dinner. It's not like it's a difficult task. And it's free, as well as the show itself. There's no admission fee. Any fee that comes in, any money that is dropped off, is strictly a donation, and it goes to the Chamber's Education Fund.
Fall River residents living near the Tiverton, Rhode Island line don't have to travel to North Main Street to take advantage of the Fall River Public Library and what it has to offer. Instead, they can stay closer to home and utilize the South End Fall River branch. Here's more.
We have a story time on Monday mornings. We have make and take crafts. We have family movies. We do a craft circle on Saturdays for adults. We have a reader's tea once a month where we get together with a group of lovely people who sit and discuss what they've been reading recently. We don't do assigned books. We just do whatever you've been reading, whatever you want to talk about is cool. And that gives people a lot of ideas of other books to read if they're stuck.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. It started out as a cozy mystery tea party, and it sort of blossomed into a very open-ended discussion of whatever books people in the group are reading. And it's an open group. We're happy to have whoever wants to drop by, whoever wants to sit in on a session and hear what goes on would be fine too. And they just discuss what they've been reading lately that's excited them or that they thought was really good and want to share with the rest of the group.
That'll do it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can catch FRC Media News Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m. and online on our website, frcmedianews.org. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday.